The sun rose over the enormous esplanade where hundreds of workers worked tirelessly. Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBEAST, he walked among the cranes and metal, watching his most ambitious idea take shape. It was not a survival challenge, nor an extravagant 24-hour competition. This time, he had decided to build a colossal statue of himself. It's going to be the most epic sculpture the internet has ever seen, he said excitedly while his team followed him with cameras. The project had started as a simple joke in one of his videos. But as was usual with MrBEAST, what started as a crazy idea soon turned into a monumental feat. He hired the best architects, engineers, and artists to bring life to a gigantic version of himself, more than 30 meters tall, with his iconic sweatshirt and smile. The cost was astronomical, but to him, it was worth every penny. People were already talking about the project as the YouTube Colossus, and with each update on social media, the excitement grew. More than 50 million people were waiting to see the grand opening. The workers were moving quickly with the construction, but some began to notice strange things. "Did you see that?" a crane operator asked, pointing to the statue's enormous head. "What thing? I swear." For a second, his eyes seemed to move. The others laughed. It was impossible. How was a statue of concrete and steel going to move? But that wasn't the only strange event. Several workers reported feelings of being watched, shadows moving at night and metallic sounds in the structure when no one touched it. A veteran worker, who had worked on large monuments before, approached one of the architects and said in a low voice, "Something is not right in this place. Statues ... absorb things." The architect ignored it, attributing it to absurd superstitions. The expected day arrived. Millions of people watched the live broadcast while a huge curtain covered the statue. MrBEAST, standing on a large stage in front of his team and hundreds of guests, smiled confidently. "Ladies and gentlemen ... I present to you the largest statue ever created in honor of a YouTuber. Shout. The cranes removed the curtain, revealing the impressive sculpture. Drones flew around, capturing every detail. It was so realistic that it seemed like it would come to life at any moment. There was a second of total silence before the crowd will explode in applause. The internet was flooded with comments, memes, and clips, but among all those videos, there was one that showed something disturbing. A Twitter user posted a slow-motion clip which went viral in a matter of minutes. In it, you could see the exact moment when the statue was revealed. But when you zoomed in on the sculpture's eyes, you could see a slight flicker. "That's a light effect, right?" asked an assistant. MrBEAST laughed. "It must be a visual trick," he thought. What I didn't know was that statue was about to make history for completely unexpected reasons. The lights from the event illuminated the gigantic sculpture with a golden glow. The whole world was watching live as MrBEAST posed next to his own colossal version, who towered over the crowd with a friendly expression. But in the immensity of his concrete face, something seemed strangely alive. The audience vibrated with excitement. The drones captured spectacular images, and the comments in the live broadcast chat exploded in a shower of emojis and exclamations. "It's incredible!" shouted a fan in the crowd. "It seems like it can move at any time." But amidst the euphoria of the event, there was a group of people who noticed something strange. "Did you see that?" an assistant asked, grabbing his friend by the arm. "See what?" "The statue flicker." His friend laughed. "Don't invent. That's impossible." But it wasn't just one person. At different points during the event, several people claimed to have seen the same thing. Eyes that closed and opened again in an imperceptible but real movement. Someone in the front row took out their cell phone and started recording. When he checked the screen, his heart beat faster. In the reflection of the flashes and pyrotechnics, it seemed that the statue's eyes had changed expression for a brief moment. MrBEAST, in the center of the stage, was enjoying the moment. The cameras focused on him. The applause did not stop, and his smile shone like the showman he was. "I heard some say the statue blinked," he joked, addressing the crowd. "But come on, friends. How is a concrete statue going to blink?" The audience laughed. "It must be fatigue," said a member of his team. "Or a lighting effect," added another. But while they laughed, a cameraman approached with a pale face and the camera still on. "Jimmy, I think you should see this." Curious, MRBEAST looked at the camera screen. What he saw left him speechless. It was a fragment of the video in slow motion, captured at the exact moment the curtain was removed. The image showed the statue's eyes, closed, and then opening again, with a movement so fluid that it couldn't be a recording error. A shiver ran down his spine. This is a trick of the light, right?" he said, unsure of his own statement. The cameraman swallowed. "Jimmy, you tell me's the celebration continued." The recording was already being uploaded to Twitter, Reddit, and streaming viewers. They started rewinding the broadcast, looking for evidence. And the worst thing is that they found them. A user edited the video to increase the brightness and contrast the colors. What he revealed left thousands of people cold. The lips of the statue, they seemed to curve into a slight smile. The MRBEAST statue stood majestically above the exhibition park. During the day, thousands of people had come to admire it, take photos, and share theories on social networks. But when night fell and the crowd disappeared, an eerie silence took over the place. The lights in the venue were still on, illuminating the imposing concrete and steel figure. But in the loneliness of the morning, something seemed different. At 2:47 am, security cameras recorded a series of moving shadows around the statue. At first, the motion sensors did not detect anything out of the ordinary. But in a couple of clips leaked to the press the next day, you could see a slight change in the statue's posture between one shot and another. It was impossible. There was no wind. There were no tremors. There was no one nearby. However, in the monitor room, a security guard named Luis Ortega, he felt a chill when he noticed something on the screens. "That can't be real, .. he whispered, approaching the screen and pausing the video frame by frame. The statue's eyes seemed subtly different in each image, as if his expression would have changed slightly. Luis was not a superstitious man, but he had worked in security long enough to know that something wasn't right. He took his flashlight and went out to patrol the area. The night air was cool, but there was a strange feeling of oppression in the environment, as if something invisible was watching him. Suddenly, a metallic sound echoed in the darkness. Luis turned the flashlight towards the base of the statue. Nothing, only the enormous colossus of MRBEAST, looking down at him from above with his eternal immobile smile. "God, I need coffee," he whispered, trying to convince himself that he was just tired. But when he turned around to return to the guardhouse, a sound thunderous echoed at the base of the statue, as if something heavy would have changed position. Luis froze. The noise had come from above. With his heart pounding, he raised the flashlight toward the statue's face. The stone eyes reflect the light in a strange way, as if they were now looking down. Trembling, Luis ran back to the office and called his supervisor. Something moved in the statue. "I swear, I heard her." I saw his expression change. His boss, a man in his 50s with a skeptical look, sighed on the other end of the line. "Luis, it is a concrete statue of more than 30 meters. It doesn't move, but the cameras caught something strange. Check them out. If you keep inventing things, I'll send you to rest for the rest of the week." Luis hung up the phone, frustrated. Nobody believed him, but when it dawned, something left everyone speechless. When the MRBEAST production team arrived early in the morning to check out the location, something didn't add up. The enormous statue, which the night before had been perfectly aligned with the stage, it was now leaning slightly to the right. It was impossible for an object of such size would have moved on its own. "It must be a perspective error," said an engineer, taking out a drone to measure the alignment. The drone flew over the statue and compared the images with those from the previous day. The data was clear. The statue had moved exactly 1.7 meters to the right. The team remained silent. Nobody had a logical explanation. MrBeast arrived minutes later, with a cup of coffee in hand and his classic enthusiasm. "Good morning, team. Ready for another epic day?" One of his producers swallowed and showed him the screen. "Jimmy, we have a problem." MRBEAST looked at the data. His smile slowly faded. "Tell me this is a joke." But at a sun single quotes it. Something was happening with the statue. And the worst was yet to come. The confusion over the inexplicable movement of the statue gripped the MRBEAST production team. The engineers reviewed the foundation, looking for a logical explanation. An error in the base? A displacement due to vibrations? But they found nothing. Meanwhile, on social media, security camera videos with the strange shadows went viral. Theories began to emerge that it was a publicity stunt, that the statue had secret mechanisms, or something darker. But what no one knew was that there was a warning that should never have been ignored. Weeks before the inauguration, when the statue was still under construction, a renowned architect called Julian Estrada visited the place. Julian, an older man with decades of experience on large projects, walked among the cranes and structures with a serious face. Something in that field gave him chills. "This place has history, Mr. Donaldson," he said to MRBEAST, separating him from the group of investors. "Yes, an incredible story, because it will be where the most epic statue in the world will be." MRBEAST responded enthusiastically. Julian did not smile. "I don't mean that. More than a century ago, here was a monumental work that was never finished." MRBEAST raised an eyebrow. "A statue?" "No." A Colossus architect looked around, as if making sure no one else was listening. Records indicate that, in 1895, a magnate obsessed with immortality attempted to build a gigantic sculpture of himself. He hired the best craftsmen, but everyone abandoned the project before finishing it. Because? MRBEAST asked, still skeptical. "It was said that something strange was happening. The stone blocks moved on their own at night. The workers listened whispers within the structure. And when the tycoon insisted on continuing, disappeared without a trace." MRBEAST laughed. "That sounds like a TikTok horror story." Julian did not smile. "Call it what you want, but this terrain is not commonplace. There are things that should not be woken up." MrBeast patted him on the back. "Calm down, Mr. Estrada. My team has everything under control. There are no curses, just a huge statue that will make history." Julian sighed and muttered something under his breath before leaving. History repeats itself for those who do not learn from it. The architect never returned to the site, and construction continued without problems, until one of the project's key engineers disappeared. His name was Raul Cardenas, an expert in large structures. Was last seen 3 days before the inauguration, making sure the statue's foundation was stable. His team saw him enter the structure to do an internal inspection, but it never came out. At first, they thought he had simply left the job abruptly. But his phone was still inside the project office, along with his jacket and his car in the parking lot. The most disturbing thing was what they found in his notebook. His quote, last entry said, "Something breathes inside the statue." The other engineers tried to rationalize it. Maybe he had become paranoid. Maybe it was just a metaphor. But in the security recording of the work, there's one last video where he is seen walking towards the statue. And then the image is completely distorted. He was never heard from again. Now, with the statue inexplicably moving, Julian Estrada's warning, it didn't seem so ridiculous anymore. MRBEAST received an unexpected message in his email. From Julian Estrada, "I warned you. But you can still stop him before it's too late." MRBEAST felt a chill. For the first time, he hesitated. What if the statue really, I had something inside? The clock marked 1:37 am when the security cameras captured something impossible. The city lights partially illuminated the colossal statue of MRBEAST. But among the shadows, his eyes seemed to shine with an unnatural intensity. The security guards were looking at the screen in the monitoring room. "Did you see that?" one of them asked, leaning towards the screen. "Did you see what?" "The eyes." "Don't joke, man. It must be a reflection of the light poles." But the guard was not convinced. He watched the recording again, and there it was. 2 luminous points. As if the statue was looking directly at them. A shiver ran down his spine. "Call the others." "I don't like this at all." Meanwhile, just a few blocks away, a group of MRBEAST fans were planning something big after seeing rumors on the internet about the statue moving. They decided that they would spend the night in the park to record everything with their own eyes. The leader of the group, a streamer named Even Lights, had an urban exploration channel with almost 1 million followers. "If this thing really moves at night, we'll be the first to capture it in 4K, with flashlights, night cameras, and a drone." They hid in the bushes, waiting for something to happen. At first, everything was calm. Until the drone captured something that left them breathless. The drone flew over the statue, focusing on MRBEAST's face. The boy's flashlights didn't reach there, but the drone's infrared camera caught a slight glow in his eyes. "It can't be," Even Lights whispered. But what happened next made them tremble with terror. The eyes lit up with an impossible intensity. 2 phosphorescent lights, as if something were waking up inside the statue. Evan stopped breathing for a moment. "It's not a reflection. It's seriously happening." And then, the eyes blinked. The boys screamed. One of them dropped the camera and fell on his back. "Corey!" The drone, still in the air, captured an even more terrifying image. For a few moments, the shadows around the statue became distorted. As if something gigantic was moving inside him. The boys didn't stay to find out what it was. They ran away, leaving their flashlights and backpacks behind. The next morning, Even Lights uploaded his video to his channel. Title: "The MRBEAST statue is alive, real evidence." In less than 3 hours, the video surpassed 10 million views. The comments exploded. The media did not take long to react. Big news portals they titled, "Mystery in the MRBEAST statue, optical illusion, or paranormal phenomenon." Scientists analyzed the strange glow in the statue's eyes. Witnesses claim that the MRBEAST statue moves at night. But the most shocking news was something else. One of the backpacks that the boys left behind was found destroyed, as if something gigantic would have stepped on it. The chaos on the internet was uncontrollable. The MRBEAST statue had become the biggest mystery of the moment. Images of glowing eyes, moving shadows, and destroyed objects they had taken over social networks. #MrBeast statue became the #1 global trend on Twitter and TikTok. The media speculated, some saying it was a publicity stunt, others claiming something darker was happening. But while the world panicked or debated theories, MRBEAST saw it as an opportunity. From his studio in North Carolina, MRBEAST watched the images with his team. Chris and Chandler were sitting across from him, watching the videos on a giant screen. "This has to be fake," Chris said, laughing nervously. "There's no way for a statue to come to life." "But what the security cameras captured isn't editing," Chandler said. "And the destroyed backpack?" Carl, who was reviewing more material, he slowly turned towards them. "Jimmy, there's something else." He pressed play. The video was from a reporter who had visited the statue that same morning. When the sun illuminated the sculpture, there was something strange on the cement base. Footprints. There are no human marks. No shoe treads. Gigantic footprints, as if something colossal I would have taken steps on the still fresh concrete. The team remained silent. "MrBeast. Sign embargo," he smiled. "This is incredible," he said, standing up. "Incredible?" Chris asked. "This is terrifying." "No, it's the perfect opportunity to make the most epic video ever." The challenge was decided. If you think you are brave enough, this challenge is for you. Let's make history. Who can survive a night in the MRBEAST statue? This is how he announced MRBEAST in his video, which in less than an hour already had 30 million views. The proposal was simple. 10 participants 24 hours inside the statue, $100,000 for anyone who resists without running away. What no one knew was that this would be the scariest night of their lives. Hundreds of thousands of people wanted to participate, but MRBEAST only chose the 10 bravest and craziest. Among them were Even Lights, the streamer who caught the glowing eyes, Sapphire Reacts, a skeptical influencer who claimed that everything was a trick of the lights, Dante, a former military man, convinced that there was nothing paranormal in this, Jake and Lucas, TikTok prankster twins who planned to scare the others. Nina, a scientist who wanted to analyze the phenomenon. The others were adventurers, ghost hunters and content creators willing to risk their skin. Challenge rules: they could not leave the statue until dawn. They couldn't turn off their cameras. They couldn't run at the first scare, or they would be disqualified. The excitement was at its peak, but none of them were really prepared for what was going to happen. The production team installed cameras throughout the statue. There were hidden microphones and a live monitoring system. MRBEAST shook hands with each participant before they entered. "Good luck," he said with a smile. "And if they see something move, make sure you record it." The steel doors closed behind them. The most terrifying night of their lives had just begun. The 10 contestants, they crossed the steel doors, eager and excited by the experience. MRBEAST's cameras broadcast live to millions of viewers. The enormous statue had a labyrinthine interior, with narrow hallways and a spiral staircase leading to the head. It was more than just a structure. It was as if it was designed to be explored. Or to catch those who entered. "This is incredible," he said. Even Lights, turning on his flashlight. "Bigger than I expected," he added. Dante, touching the concrete walls. Twins Jake and Lucas, they burst out laughing and they ran into the dark hallways. First to find MRBEAST's brain wins. Luke shouted. Nina, the scientist, "It didn't seem fun." "There's something strange here," he whispered, looking at his electromagnetic field detector. "Do you see ghosts?" Joked Sophia, the skeptical influencer. Nina frowned. "No. But this device is capturing abnormal energy. As if something was moving inside the walls." From your base of operations, MRBEAST and his team monitor the inside of the statue. Several high-definition cameras were installed in every corner, ready to capture anything strange. But then ... black screen. "What happened?" Chris asked, tapping the table. "Carl tried to reboot the system. I don't know. We lost the signal from the interior cameras." "How is it possible?" MRBEAST frowned. "Those cameras have backup batteries." "Maybe it's interference," Chandler said. "The statue is huge. There could be blind spots, but something in the air felt different." The external transmission was still live, with millions of viewers watching it all. However, no one knew what was going on inside the statue. The twins, they kept exploring, laughing and recording with their phones. "Look at this, Lucas." Jake pointed to a wall with strange markings. "What do you think they mean?" Lucas approached. Brands, they looked like handprints, but they were huge. "Are you kidding?" Lucas said, touching them. "It's surely part of the show." But then, a sound echoed through the halls. The light of their lanterns flicker. "What was that?" Jake asked nervously. Nobody responded, because Lucas was no longer there. Jake ran back to the others, yelling, "Lucas disappeared. I can't find it." All they were alarmed. "How did he disappear?" Even Lights asked. "He was right behind me." Only a noise was heard, and when I turned around, it was gone. The face of Nina, she turned pale. "This is not normal. The ex-military man tried to calm the situation. "He's probably hiding, making a joke." Let's go back to look for it. But when they began to review, they found something that no one expected. Lucas's phone. Split in two. Sophia, he covered his mouth with his hands. That is not possible. The laughter and the excitement, they became a real fear from its base. MRBEAST, I watched the outside broadcast. He saw the reaction of the participants, and he knew something wasn't right. Chandler, contact the team inside the statue, he ordered. Carl took the radio. Lucas, will you copy us? Alone static. This can't be happening. MRBEAST whispered. For the first time in his career, his defiance was out of control, but he wasn't going to stop now. I had to find out the truth. The disappearance of Lucas put everyone on alert. The tension in the group grew. Something inside the statue didn't want them to be there, but at the base of operations, Mr. Beast, he was not willing to give up. I want the original plans for the statue right now, he ordered. Chris, he rushed to look for them, and what they found changed everything. The plans, they were detailed, showing each internal section of the statue. But in the lower corner of one of the pages, there was something unexpected, a handwritten message. Don't wake him up. MRBEAST, he froze. Who wrote this? Asked. Chandler gulped. I have no idea. We have never seen this before. Nina, the group's scientist, took the plans carefully. The line is old, as if someone had written it years ago. Carl frowned. That's impossible. This statue was built just a few months ago. But if it was impossible, how to explain it? To understand what was happening, MRBEAST called an expert in paranormal phenomena, Professor Elliot Graves. Elliot had studied cases of possessed structures throughout history. When he saw the message on the plans, his face hardened. This is worse than I imagined, he whispered. Mr. Beast, he looked at him in disbelief. Worse? What are you talking about? Elliot Graves sighed deeply. Throughout history, giant colossi have been built to honor kings, gods, or unknown entities. And what does that have to do with our statue? The expert leaned forward. Some cultures believed that if a statue was big enough, could trap a spirit inside her. Carl, he shuddered. You mean, we made a haunted statue? We don't know yet, Elliot said. But the message on the plans is a warning. Chris, he scratched his head, confused. But who wrote it? Maybe someone who understood what they were building and tried to avoid it. Mr. Beast, he crossed his arms. This doesn't make sense. But then, Elliot made the most disturbing revelation of the night. Professor Graves reviewed the statue's construction materials and found something spooky. Tell me, where did you get the stone to build it? Chris looked at the records. We recycled stone from an old structure. What type of structure? A temple in ruins. In Asia. Elliot's face, he turned pale. Did you know that stone was cursed? Silence. Carl, he laughed nervously. This is a joke, right? No, that temple was abandoned centuries ago because people believed that it harbored something that should not be awakened. MRBEAST's stomach, he shrank. Suddenly everything, it made sense. The statue. Not only was it a massive construction, it was a prison. But a prison for what? As MRBEAST tries to process the truth, inside the statue, something awakens. Theories about the MRBEAST statue, they were going crazy on social media. Possessed? Damn, a publicity stunt? Nobody knows the truth. But everything would change. Why tonight? The statue would prove that they weren't just rumors. Professional recording equipment was sent to monitor the statue. MRBEAST's order was simple: capture definitive evidence of what was happening. The cameramen, they placed drones and thermal cameras around the gigantic structure. It was early morning. The wind, he whistled through the shadows. Everything was calm. Until, exactly at 3:33 m.m., the unthinkable happened. The cameras, they began to register vibrations in the structure. Live broadcast. Do you feel that? It's like a tremor, but only here. One of the drone operators noticed something scary. His screen flickered. The drone caught the statue's head bowing slightly. But there was no wind. The technicians, they looked confused. That can't be real. One of them whispered. But what came next made them lose their breath. The thermal cameras detected a heat anomaly inside the statue. "This doesn't make sense," said a technician. "It's stone. It should not emit heat." And then, the statue's eyes shone. An intense reddish glow. The cameramen, they panicked. Someone tripped over his tripod, making the camera turn just in time to capture it. The statue's mouth opened, and a guttural sound came from inside. It was a roar inhuman. "My God!" Someone shouted. But they had not yet seen the worst. Recording equipment alarms, they were shot. They detected a change in position. But they didn't believe it until they saw it with their own eyes. One of the cameras, strategically placed 300 meters away, captured the exact moment the statue moved its right leg. Then the left. I was walking. Millions of people on the live broadcast couldn't believe their eyes. The technicians, they ran away in terror. One of them, he dropped his camera to the ground. But this continued recording. Last image before everything was cut. A stone foot crushing the tripod. MRBEAST, he received the call in the middle of the morning. "Jimmy, you won't believe what just happened." The images, they were clear. The statue had moved, and now no one could stop her. What will MRBEAST do now that his own creation has come to life? The image of the MRBEAST statue moving on its own, it was already world trend. Headlines around the world. The MRBEAST statue comes to life and rampages through the city. Paranormal phenomenon or runaway technology. Government evaluates. Military intervention against uncontrolled colossus. But for MRBEAST and his team, this wasn't just a viral. It was a real nightmare. Because the statue, I was them looking for them. Live cameras, they showed the statue advancing slowly among the skyscrapers. He trampled a park. Trees creaked under their weight. It hit a building, and the windows burst into 1,000 pieces. The city, he panicked. Police and fire sirens blared everywhere. But MRBEAST had a bigger problem. Suddenly, the statue stopped moving. He turned his head slowly. And he looked directly at the place where MRBEAST was. "Is he looking at us?" exclaimed Chris, his lifelong friend. Mr. Beast felt a chill runs down your spine. "It can't be ... double quotes," he whispered. "He's looking for us." The statue, he took a step in her direction. The ground, it shook like an earthquake. Another step. Car glass, they were shattered. "Run!" MRBEAST shouted. Your team jumped into a truck, and they took off at full speed. But the statue followed them. The streets were full of terrified people. But for MRBEAST, there was no escape, because the statue, he was tracking them like a predator. But it wasn't a joke. Why MRBEAST? I was about to find out the hard way. Why the statue is searching. How can you stop something that shouldn't be alive? The world was in shock. Mr. Beast's statue kept moving forward, leaving destruction in its wake. But the question everyone was asking was because MRBEAST's phone sounded in full flight. "Jimmy, answer!" Chris shouted, maneuvering the truck through the chaos. "Unknown calling." MRBEAST frowned and he answered, "Who is speaking? I'm a little busy right now." "My name is Dr. Elijah Kane," said a deep voice. "I know what's happening with the statue, and I know how to stop it." Mr. Beast single quotes as heart. He turned around. "Who are you?" "That statue is not a simple work of art. You have awakened something that should never have been disturbed. Centuries ago, in the same place where they built the statue, say, raised an ancient temple dedicated to a be forgotten. The villagers, they believed that something was sleeping on the earth, something that I shouldn't wake up. To seal it, they used sacred stone, carved with containment symbols. But when Mr. Beast's construction team extracted that stone for the statue, they destroyed the seal that kept the entity trapped. The statue is not just a statue, warned the historian. It is a receptacle. Mr. Beast, he swallowed. A receptacle for what? The historian, he paused. For something that is now looking for you. And then MRBEAST understood. The fate of the statue was What did the MRBEAST statue want? What did they? Wake up without knowing it, and most importantly, how to stop it before it's too late. MRBEAST must confront the statue's hidden past before the entire world pays the consequences. The whole world was watching. Live broadcasts showed the gigantic statue moving forward. Each step shook the earth like an earthquake. Scientists, the military and world leaders, they didn't have answers. But MRBEAST has not had a plan. There is only one way to stop this, MRBEAST said, looking at his team. Chris, Chandler, why Carl? They nodded silently. The plan: attract the statue to an uninhabited area, strategically place explosives at the key points of its structure, shoot it down before it reaches its destination. Estimated time: 90 minutes before the statue arrived. MRBEAST started a live stream. Friends, this was not what I expected when I made this statue, but now I must stop her. If something happens to me, I want you to remember this moment. 2.3 million people watching live. The entire world held its breath. When the statue was against MRBEAST, he stopped. City lights, they blinked. And then, the statue spoke. You created me. The voice was not human. It was deep, resonant, impossible to ignore. Now you must complete what you started. Absolute silence. MRBEAST, he took a step back. What did the statue want? What did those words mean? Was he about to do something even worse? The team had seconds to decide. The world was paralyzed at the colossal statue. I didn't move any further. Was there motionless, with his eyes shining in the dark. And then his voice boom again. You created me. Now, you must give me a part of you. Mr. Beast, he looked at his team, waiting for some idea, some sign of what to do. But there was no time. What does that mean? He asked, his pulse racing. The statue, she leaned slightly towards him. A proof of your essence. MRBEAST understood something at that moment. The statue was not destroying randomly. I was looking for him. Some of her own energy had awakened her, and only he could appease her. There was no other option. With a mix of fear and determination, MRBEAST, he closed his eyes and accepted. All right, take it. And then the light went out. Time seemed to stop. The statue, he slowly knelt down. And with a last tremor, stayed completely still. It didn't break. It didn't fall. Simply it went off. The entire world watched in silence. Chris and Chandler ran towards him. Jimmy, are you okay? MRBEAST, he opened his eyes slowly, but something, his look had changed. What did the statue really do to MRBEAST? And what does it mean for the future? The world breathed a sigh of relief. The colossal statue, he didn't move again. The news called her the Stone Miracle. Paro MRBEAST, I knew the truth, because something inside him had changed. LV first nights after the event, MRBEAST, I couldn't sleep well. I dreamed of the statue. I understood that it was inside her. He heard echoes of an ancient language in his head. VA saw images from unknown times. Every time he woke up, he had the feeling that something was calling him. But calling him what? Meanwhile, the MRBEAST statue became a world attraction. Tourists from all over, they traveled to see her. Influencers, why YouTubers, they were trying to capture some movement. The documentary spoke of the colossus that almost destroyed a city. But no one knew the full truth. Solo Mr. Beast. Because every time he approached the statue, I felt a heartbeat. If in some way, the colossus was still alive. One night, MRBEAST, he woke up in the middle of the morning. His skin was cold, his breathing was labored. I had had one last dream. In it, the statue, I opened my eyes again, and he said something that left him frozen. I will be back when it is the time. Is it really the end? Or is the story of the MRBEAST statue just beginning? Months have passed since the incident. The world has moved on. Mr. Beast 2. His YouTube channel has returned to normal activity. New challenges, new giveaways, new viral challenges. It's as if nothing had happened. But inside. He feels it. Something inside him. It is not the same. One day, MRBEAST decides to make a live stream special, giving $1 million to those who pass up the tests. Millions of people connect. He smiles, jokes, interacts with the chat. Everything seems normal until someone in the comments notices it. MrBeast, he doesn't notice it. Continue with your transmission. Someone takes a screenshot. The fragment goes viral. MrBeast turns off the broadcast. He goes to the mirror and looks at his reflection, and there they are. His eyes shine, but not like before, not like yours. It's not like those in the statue. Maybe the statue never fully woke up.